Well, and that figures into this novel. And I'd love to have you actually read from the very beginning of your novel. And I'm passing it across
Sure,
to you.
sure. So the story, as you know, goes back between summer of 1973 and winter of 1974. And this is what you're handing me is the first chapter, start of the book. And he's talking about summer of 1973, and he's talking about his title is My Friends, My Family, and My Alley. Sleeping on the roof in the summer is customary in Tehran. The dry heat of the day cools after midnight, and those of us who sleep on the rooftops wake with the early sun on our faces and fresh air in our lungs. My mother is strictly against it and reminds me each evening, hundreds of people fall off the roofs every year. My best friend Ahmed and I trade hidden smiles with each warning, then climb the stairs to spend our nights under stars that seem close enough to touch. The alley below settles into a patchwork of streetlight, shadow, and sounds. A car humps slowly down the deserted street, cautious not to wake anyone, as a stray dog in the distance releases a string of officious barks. "Hey, I hear your mom calling," Ahmed mumbles in the dark. I smile, aiming a good-natured kick that he easily rolls away from. Our house is the tallest in the neighborhood, which makes our roof an ideal spot for stargazing. In fact, naming the stars for our friends and the people we love is one of our favorite pastimes. "Does everyone have a star?" Ahmed asks. "Only good people. And the better you are, the bigger your star, right?" "Bigger and brighter," I say, as I do every time he asks the same question. "And your star guides you when you're in trouble, right? Your star and the stars of people you love." Ahmed closes one eye and lifts his thumb to block out one of the brightest stars. "I'm tired of looking at your big fat face." "Shut up and go to sleep then," I say, laughing, letting my gaze relax into the velvety emptiness between each pinprick of light. My eyes travel down the sky until they rest on the familiar rise and fall of the Alborz Mountains, which serpentines between the desert and the blue-green Caspian Sea. I get distracted for a moment, trying to decide if the darkness is black or so deeply blue that it just appears inky in comparison.
And that's Mahbod Seraji, our guest today on Radio Times, reading from the very beginning of his first book. It's a novel called Rooftops of Tehran. And we're about a minute away from our first break here, but you read Jack London's White Fang in Farsi on your rooftop as a young boy, a 10-year-old boy in Tehran, yes?
Absolutely. It was the first book. My father, we always had lots of books in the house, and he was always reading. So, and I have 5 sisters who are not in the book, because trying to describe 5 sisters in the book would have been very challenging. So I picked up this book and went up on the rooftop and began to read it and fell in love with writing. Fell in love with Jack London and thought, if a writer can, with just a pen, can take a 10-year-old kid out of Tehran, Iran, to the Alaskan wilderness and make him feel good and at home, that was something I wanted to do.
So did you want to be a lifelong reader, a writer at that moment?
Both. I think that from then on, I started reading almost everything that was on my dad's in my dad's library, and I knew that someday I would write. Now, because of my interest in film, I always thought I would be writing a script as opposed to a novel. But here we are.
Here we are. Well, let's take that short break, and then we'll get back to our conversation. And again, my guest is Iranian-born Mahbod Seraji, and he has lived in the United States for more than 3 decades, came here as a student in the mid-1970s, and has worked as a business consultant, and has also written his first book, a novel called Rooftops of Tehran. Much more to talk about after this short break. Go to whyy.org/Radio Times, and you can also call us at 1-888-477-9499, and check us out on Facebook as well. We'll be right back.
Supporting WHYY BBC America, the cable TV and satellite channel, presenting Top Gear, a different kind of car show with stunts, challenges, and celebrity appearances. Top Gear, new season premieres tonight at 8 on BBC America.
You're listening to Radio Times on WHYY. It's 11:20. This afternoon at 2 on Talk of the Nation, Bill Gates talks about global health, Haiti, and the road ahead. This afternoon's forecast, cloudy with showers, temperatures slowly falling down to 36 degrees overnight. There's a chance of sprinkles or flurries this evening. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy to start, turning partly cloudy by the afternoon. Tuesday's high 45. Come Wednesday, intervals of clouds, some breaks of sunshine, high 42.
WHYY invites you to join us for a peek behind the curtain at a live radio show as it is being produced. A Prairie Home Companion presents a special Cinecast on February 4th at several area theaters. You'll get to see the show on the big screen, being produced live from the Fitzgerald Theater in St. Paul and beamed via satellite. This event is for one night only. For movie theater listings and ticket information, visit us at whyy.org/member experience.
10,000 Villages in Ephrata supports WHYY. Their annual rug event is January 29th through February 27th, featuring hand-knotted rugs made by fairly paid adults. Details at rugs.10000villages.com.
This is Radio Times here on WHYY in Philadelphia. I'm Marty Moss-Cohen, talking with Mahbod Seraji, and his novel Rooftops of Tehran is a coming-of-age story, a love story set in the tumultuous days before the Iranian Revolution of 1979. And we're taking calls at 1-888-477-9499. This novel is narrated by a young man named Pasha, and as you said, in some ways, he is based on you, although he's also a creature of your imagination. How would you describe Pasha? He's 17 years old. We meet him.
Exactly. I think I see Pasha as a kid who is always trying to do the right things. He's obviously smart, intelligent, bookish smart, but not necessarily street smart. That's why he gets so... and he reminds of, I think in some ways, of us, that very first time that we fell in love and couldn't speak and were tongue-tied and our palms got sweaty and said the wrong things, that we kicked ourselves thinking how stupid we were for saying it.
Sounds like you're reliving something here, I have to say.
So he sort of reminds us of that that period in all of our lives. I think he also is the kind of kid who's facing some major dilemmas from very early on in his life, trying to decide whether he should do what is right or do what makes him feel good. He knows that falling in love with the fiancée of a friend is probably the worst thing he can do in that culture, and yet he can't stop himself.
Right. And he's in love with Zari.
With Zari,
who lives next door.
Next door, and is engaged to one of his friends who he affectionately calls Doctor because he's a little older, and he's a university student and on the hit list of the Shah's secret police, the Savak.
And he has this thing that the characters in the book describe as that. And I'm using quotation marks here on the radio. That. He has that.
Exactly.
What's that?
That is, it comes out of a word that's in Hafiz, Iranian poet. A very famous line says, and I'm going to read it in Persian. I'm sure you have some Persian listeners, and then I'll translate it.
Sure.
That, by the way, in Farsi is on. The word on is that. So the poem goes something like this. Dilbaran nist ke muyi o miyani darad. Bande tal'at an bash ke ani darad. And what that means is don't be infatuated with the one who has the looks or the appearance. Go after the one that has on that. And that is this unrecognizable or recognizable but undefinable quality that people have, that as soon as they walk into the room, you feel it, you sense it.
A kind of a chemistry, a presence.
Presence, chemistry, charisma, all of those put together makes it that in Persian.
Well, he is in love with Zari, who is supposed to be married to the doctor, someone that he looks up to, and he calls the doctor. Is a doctor based on someone you know because he hates the Shah? Mm-hmm. He also hates the mullahs. He is political. I don't want to give too much of the story away. But is the doctor, did you know someone like that who was politically active at the time?